You're watching The Crossover.
Josh, first of all, congrats on the release of Zerocool's first product, Zerocool Card's first product, the Veefriends product. And also, congrats on living the dream. I think it's a dream of a lot of people to make a trading card product. And people, think about this and how they would do it. And so, first of all, tell me, dude, what was it like constructing this product, deciding what the checklist looked like, what goes into it, how should it be numbered, how many what you wrote a manifesto about this. So how did you figure out how to build this product?
Well, first of all, I should let me just first apologize for this awkward setup. It looks like I have a normal setup, but in a hotel room. I just put my kids to sleep. We're at Disney. I'm about to spend a week at Disney World with my kids who are 9 and about to be 7. Nice. So I have just anxiety in my heart. I've had it for 2 months since we started planning this trip. And this is the last call, interview, whatever I'm going to do for the next week. But apparently you can't get on Instagram on your computer. So I don't have, at my house, I have a nice stand. I have my phone clips on I don't have any of this. So right now my phone is sitting in a coffee mug. And it's just the top of it is so I can see Chris. I have to go like this to see Josh and look down the coffee mug. So
I'll be up at the top.
Come up a little higher, Josh.
Right, yeah, but you can see me, which is really all that matters. So anyway, so if I'm doing this the whole time to see what Josh is saying, you're doing. Right. Anyway, what's really super interesting about that question is that it is something that I've always thought about. And then we happen to do the first set with Gary and Veefriends, and we can talk more about why. But that we're actually quite constrained because the checklist was the Veefriends characters, and even the parallel structure, we mimicked the parallel structure in Veefriends. So that part was pretty straightforward. The question was really about how many we were going to make, how we were going to add some chase elements, how many were going to be autographed, how many were going to be hand-drawn, but also knowing that we had a target max, which was 1,000 boxes. And from the very beginning, that just number felt like, flawless National Treasure style, 1 pack, 10 cards, 1,000 boxes. We wanted to keep it very limited. So we then backed into, based on the number of Veefriends there are, the number of base cards there need to be, the parallel structure. And so it was probably way more, constrained than you might have in some, and by the way, in a lot of these other products that we're already in the middle of building, tremendously more freedom and creativity to do some more fun stuff.
Let me ask a follow-up here, and then I'll let Josh give a few in. But was it difficult to convince Gary to do this? And here's why I ask. Because I was watching Gary and Card Collector 2 open a box of this at Gary's office in New York. And Gary was like, that card community, man, he was like, they're cynical guys. It's cool to be cynical in the hobby. That's just cool. And, obviously people have been hard on Gary in our hobby, but people love him too. People absolutely will ride or die for Gary, but also people have, given him a lot of flack. Was it difficult to convince Gary, hey, let's build this trading card product, even though you've seen so much success in the Veefriends project, let's bring this to the physical world? Was that a tough sell?
So I think that's a really good insight into what his point of view might be about the hobby, given particularly I feel like some of the hate that he's seen since he's been so into NFTs in the last year. But the short answer is no, not at all. And that's because, if you know Gary, he's the real deal. He happens to be a very, bombastic speaker but he is as genuine as anyone and as loyal as anyone. And I've known Gary since before I started StockX. And so he had always had an idea that he was going to do a trading card set for Veefriends. And the second he launched it, I hit him up, was like, hey, I haven't read you in yet, but hey, this is what we're working on. He's like, done. It was and to go even further, we never even agreed on commercial terms until it was done. And I was like, hey, we should probably work out the royalty and all the, and he's like, oh yeah, it's fine. We'll work it out. Right. Because it was always about the relationship, and it was about his also understanding of where the hobby was, anything that it totally makes sense to do this with a brand that was going to be for culture cards as opposed to taking it to Topps or Panini or somewhere where it would have been an afterthought. So, yeah.
All right. Awesome. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, you probably already know my question, but it's just like, why the Veefriends first? Like, why is that the first choice versus? And I know that the Zerocool is more pop culture and it's not sports cards, so I think that probably
Yeah.
is most of the answer. But yeah, go ahead.
No, what well, that's true, but the whole idea of Zerocool is that it's everything related to culture other than sports, which means not only traditional IP like TV and movies, which is usually what we've seen in sets. Like right now, obviously Marvel cards are going through the roof. Rittenhouse has made Game of Thrones and Star Trek, so it's usually been traditional IP. So I've always wanted to build trading cards for every other aspect of it. So how do you have trading card sets for rappers or for musicians or fashion designers, and or brands, right? How about having Peloton? How about doing a trading card set for Peloton, which has become a very important part of our culture right now, and the Peloton instructors becoming very important people in our culture right now, right? So it's all of that, and so as we talk through it, obviously Gary's relationship to the hobby, a collector, all of that was important, but also this is about culture and what's important. And right now, is there anything that is a bigger, more interesting topic than NFTs in our culture? Love it, hate it, whatever. Like there's a tremendous amount of money, a tremendous amount of companies and people moving towards it. So it's an important part of our culture right now. And so all of those things combined, made sense. And we also wanted to do something that we knew would have real long-term value and the possibility to have extraordinary long-term value. And given what I know that Gary is doing with Veefriends, and I mean, this is now his lifelong goal, is to make Veefriends IP on the same level as Pokemon and Harry Potter and Star Wars or Disney, that there's a real possibility between it being Zerocool's first set ever and Veefriends' first set ever, that I don't know, man, like this could be really, really valuable in the future if those two things both end up being what we think they can be.
Mm-hmm. Well, so knowing what you know about our opinion of NFTs, you should take that into the context of my question, and knowing what you know about sort of this semi-holy war that's come up of like NFTs versus physical cards. What is your thought process of making the first physical card a choice of NFT? Like, did you think through the sort of, I don't want to call it irony, but the fact that it's this crossover of like NFTs coming over to physical? What is your thought on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that absolutely is part of it, right? I mean, there's all of these factors really go into making this the perfect set to release with. But that idea that, NFTs are just a JPEG or whatever, like it's about I don't want to say like it's about the community. It almost sounds cliche, right? But it is about it's about all the things around that NFT set. And there are plenty of examples of NFT projects that are simply just JPEG, that the creators have not put anything behind it, no utility, right? But Gary's probably one of the three most important Veefriends, probably one of the three most important NFT projects in terms of all the value they've created, what they're trying to do with it. So it really is about our belief that that IP, that those characters are and will become even more important characters. And it happens to be that they started on NFTs, but I don't even know the answer to this, but where did Pokemon start at? Did it start as a game or a TV show or whatever, but now it's trading cards and lunchboxes and like everything else, right? It's, I'm at Disney World for the next week, right? Like that started with a cartoon that Walt Disney drew, and now what's Disney, right? So that's really the bigger point.
Okay, Josh, do you have more? Because I have a question.
No, go ahead. I have another one later.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, I want to repeat the fact that Veefriends is one of the most important NFT projects in the space. Here's the angle I'm coming at everything from right now is we have turned the tables on the NFT community, which has come into our space and began poaching collectors, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. And I fight the battle against them every day. In fact, I pointed out not long ago that Bitcoin is down 29% this year. And so in other words, Bitcoin is showing a greater inflationary tendency than the dollar over at least 10% of its life so far. So the dollar is now a hedge against Bitcoin. Sports cards are now a hedge against NFTs, where it was once inverted. It was once the opposite way. And maybe it'll flip back again.
Yeah.
So Gary mentioned a series 2 of Veefriends coming out. And like based on the success and the hype of this one, that's going to be a pretty crazy release as well, even though it won't have the novelty of being the first. Are there plans to take more NFT property, more NFT IP, and maybe even spin off into an NFT series of just CryptoPunks and Bored Apes? And like, are there plans to do something like that?
So yes, but it's not just about NFTs. It's about all of the categories. If you think about, I actually, excuse me, I had sorry, I had a diagram that I should have. Hold on one second. Excuse me. I had a diagram, and maybe I can send you guys later, and we can actually post it. Which is, it's basically all the different categories that we think Zerocool ends up being in. And the first year we'll have, I don't know how many releases, a half a dozen, whatever it is. Maybe it's like one a month, something like that. But Topps made 127, 128 different sets last year. So what does Zerocool look like when we're at that scale? Well, you probably have 10 different categories, media, entertainment, politics, business, NFTs, brands, it's something like that. And I'm sort of blank off the top of my head, but it's like that. It starts to break out where, you have these defined categories. And then within each of them, just like we have with sports, you'll have high-end product, you'll have low-end product, you'll have mass retail product, you'll have stuff that we sell as blind Dutch auctions, you'll have stuff that'll be on the shelf at Target, same thing, as we build these categories out in the same way that it did that. So the answer is yes to NFTs, but also for all those other categories.
Gotcha. Because I think it would be the ultimate plot twist if the end game is that we poach all of the digital collectors
Yes.
and bring them to our world. That to me is evil laugh, pinky to the mouth, sipping tea with sunglasses on, gangster meme, all of it. I want all of it.
I support all of the memes of you. So however we want to, continue to make those, I'm on board with that. But it really is about, like your point is so dead on. I mean, I know the comic aspect I get, and I get that you now have a lifelong mission to basically, defund the entire NFT world. But right, look, the only way we grow the hobby is by bringing in more people. And I can't convince Kim Kardashian fans to like basketball cards, but if I make cards of Kim Kardashian, then they're way more likely to buy trading cards, right? It's that simple, right? So whether it's for music or art or fashion or NFTs, like all the same concept, like this is how we grow the hobby. This is how we bring more people in, because nobody just likes one thing in their whole life. Like people like sports, but they also like, I don't know, fashion, or they like, concerts or whatever, right? So this is how we grow the whole thing.
Awesome.
Next question is that Chris and I, as sports card collectors, are extremely jealous of this release. And where do we get our taste of? I know, again, Zerocool is not sports, but where do we get our sort of taste at this? Because Zerocool to me and this release is kind of like the coming out party for like the new Fanatics trading card. So where do we get our taste of this for sports cards?
So a couple different ways. First of all, this was the release of the first Zerocool product, but the Zerocool brand, and most importantly, truly, is the technology platform, is the ability to sell cards using market-based pricing, blind Dutch auction being one mechanism. But this is about the start of an integrated customer experience for all card collectors, sports, culture, etc., and just to make it easier for people to come in, to learn about the hobby, to buy, etc. And so we will use these mechanisms and technology platform to support sports cards at some point. And we will sell, including selling some products as blind Dutch auctions. But because we now have licenses for multiple sports and culture, I really want to be able to have products that cut across that. So, sure, there's sets for basketball, baseball, football, culture, but what if there's a set for I forget what city are you guys in? You guys live in different cities, right? Josh, in
Arizona,
Phoenix?
Phoenix, yeah.
Okay. So what if there's a Phoenix set and it's just 100 of the most interesting people that are from Phoenix, and it could include baseball players, it could include basketball players, it could include dentists, it could include right, politicians,
dentists.
business people. Yeah,
Fuck the dentist. No dentist.
It could include Cardboard Chronicles.
yeah, right. So like the ability to have cross product also, I think plays into this, and because I'm like, Zerocool as a brand has a much harder challenge than Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, the Sports, because of the process of licensing, the process of creating these cards is way more cumbersome. In sports, you need 2 licenses. You need the league and the PA. That's it. You don't go person to person to everybody in the NBA to make basketball cards. So here we have to do that in order to bring more people into this space. So that's our challenge. That's fine. Happy to do things that don't scale in the beginning and bring it in. But if we do, we open this up to things that we never had, like creating a set for Phoenix that includes 80 people that aren't athletes, but that are important people there. Maybe they're rock stars or whomever. So that also becomes, we all benefit from that as well.
So how did the Dutch auction go? How do you feel like it executed the tech, your guys' like platform?
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
Let's recap the stats on that too. Clearing price of $21.50, almost 25,000 bids.
Yeah, I think 20 like 22,400 bids or something like that. Just over 22,000 bids. Clearing price is $21.50. We will. I don't have the exact number. I think it was around 4,000 different people, somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 different people that purchased it. We're working around the clock right now. On Monday, hopefully Monday, maybe Tuesday, we're going to put out a blog post that is the deep dive into this. Every data point you could possibly imagine. If I can figure out the right way to do it, I'm also probably going to put up a data set and allow people to just download the data themselves and mess around with it, to go into all of that, because I want people to learn as much as possible how this worked, and there's nothing that we can't share. The technology was flawless. I mean, there's always little bugs the first time you release something, but I don't know if you've met our guys yet, but man, they're extraordinary. I mean, the team we've built so far at Fanatics Collectibles is awesome. The technology team is amazing. So that worked well. The evolution of that becomes really interesting. Think about a world where there's like a self-service blind Dutch auction. So we're the platform, and we put that up, and anyone who wants can come and say, hey, I want to sell, XYZ there, and all you're doing is, I don't know, uploading assets, and then you run and let the thing run, because all that is a mechanism to allow people to bid and buy it. So that worked out really well. Personally, I think the price was like almost exactly where I thought it would be. I thought it would be somewhere between like $1,500 to $2,500. Totally happy with that. That feels right. Boxes are already selling for more on eBay. I saw at least a couple that sold for over $5,000. We'll see, how that evolves as people get boxes in hand and people start selling singles, all of that. But it feels about right. The whole point of this is trying to somehow manage to let the market set the price in a fair way, right? And everyone asked me, how much should I bid? What are they worth? What are they going to be worth? I was like, truly, like, bid what you think it's worth. I was like, that the only way this works at a macro level, right, is if everybody is unbiased and just bidding which is why, by the way, there's no like time, there's no trying to beat other people's bids, there's no trying to force action. It's like, hey, you got 3 days, take your time, and place a bid. So it really did go off without a hitch, and I think the results kind of speak for themselves. Last data, and then the only data point I do know is 97.2% of the people paid less than what their bid is, which is always the best part of the Dutch auction mechanism, right? That the clearing price goes down. The other 3% paid exactly $21.50, but everyone else had bid more than $21.50 and then only paid $21.50.
Yeah, that's great for customers. The blind Dutch auction is like less tech. It's like there's no time, there's no like countdown, there's no like keeping track of snipe bids. It's like a simpler thing for the tech side. And one last thing, the compliment I give you is that this is like the first time I didn't hear anything about the tech, which is a compliment to the tech team in that you don't hear about it. It worked. It's smooth. No problems. You don't want to hear about it, right? It's just like you want that to be the constant. So congrats on that.
Yeah. Thanks, man. You know what the number one complaint was Well, there's two. The top two complaints during the course of it were. You guys want to take a guess? Any idea?
Did you already say them on Jeremy Lee's show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I already know they are. No international, and you can only buy 40.
And you can only buy 40. And of the two,
Do I get an A+ on this test?
Yeah. No, we'll make a meme of this for you. We'll add it to the list of Chris memes. So the number of people who said something about the 40 limit was a lot, and we're like, oh damn. You know how many people actually bought 40?
I
Nobody?
do not know that answer.
Two
Wow.
people. Two people. Okay. Two people bought 40. There must have been, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 people that emailed, tweeted, said something, and they were so mad that you could only buy 40, and only two people bought 40. So.
Were you one of them, Josh?
Were you one of them, Josh?
No.
They're talking to me.
Oh.
Either of you, actually.
Yeah.
So is there look, obviously this is a huge win for anybody who bought, because the secondary market price is already 2 to 3x what the clearing price was. But is there any impulse on your side, the manufacturer side, to say, damn, maybe we should figure out a way to capture a little bit of those gains, because these are obviously instantly worth more than what the clearing price was?
No, it's the whole just economic hypothesis behind it is that it should go up, right? If you take the number of bids that won, and that's a sample set for the world at large, right? You can never have everyone in the world participate at the same time. So there were there's 800 winning bids, right? I think the top bid, I want to say, was like $100,000 or someone, or $102,000. Someone understood the mechanism, right? The fact that, by the way, if 801 people bid $100,000, then you're fucked. But anyway, so the top bid was like $100,000, and then you get into some more. There's a whole lot of bids around $10,000. We'll publish all this. But if that is a sample of the world at large, then some people truly value that box at $5,000 or $8,000 or whatever it is. So when you bring it down to $2,150, there's all that headroom because once you open up secondary market, now it's the whole world is there, and so it should rise. Like the whole logic behind this is it should rise. Now, there's less of a gap than if it had been a retail product and we tried to price this at $400 a box or try to come up with something, right? But if it was $400 a box, then the process of acquiring that box would have been impossible. It would have been bedlam and chaos and sites crashing and all that different stuff. So yeah, like that's exactly how it should be. And by the way, if we release a product later that is more of a retail product that has way more supply, and and the clearing price is $100, should still happen, right? Maybe it goes to $200 or $150 or whatever it is. But the whole concept of the blind Dutch auction is exactly that should happen.
Got it. Josh, we don't want to keep you too long, man, especially on your vacation. So let me just, Josh, you have anything you want to wrap up? Because Josh has been on the podcast circuit. You can check him out on Lucas Tigers LeBron, Sports Cards Nonsense. Yep. You can check him out on Jeremy Lee Sports Cards Live. We just had a couple extra little asterisk questions. Always happy to come and fuck around in coffee mugs and see Josh down there. So Josh Johnson, is there any last question?
No.
Josh Luber.
No, I'm going to Disneyland in a month, so I know, the stress and, having a family around you. So please, if, take the time you need to get out of here and go have some fun.
No, I'm good, man. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in a couple weeks, right? I'll see you in Vegas.
Yeah, congrats, Josh.
Congrats, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate the support. I'll see you
buddy.
Take care.
The Crossover. Join the chat and participate live on The Crossover every Friday night on Instagram. The Crossover. Don't miss it.